He was the only one from the table. And,
hi guys. So Mr. Sci-Fi is back on the air. Here we are.
Some of the paperwork, and she is going to have an official fund in a bank to raise money for distributing the You'll Be Okay, and also she would love to have, when he was in the hospital, he actually wrote another short film.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
We would love to see that produced.
Yes,
so
yes.
Hopefully.
Sounds great.
Just doing, very nice service online. Another event I had went late, so I thought, no, I better log online and wouldn't get there in time. Just keeping busy, writing our composers group. We're working on Halloween songs, Christmas songs. Did a lot of Christmas songs last year. Collaborating with people, working on a musical with someone from the table, and wrote a Christmas song with someone from the table. I'm working on, I'm sure I'm forgetting things, but working on a lot of different things.
Good.
And always glad to see everybody here at the table.
Yes.
And
Okay.
And thank you last week. I thought about what you said about AFM. I decided, no, I don't have a really specific goal, but
No.
I know that some of the people from our composers group will be hanging out at certain aspects, but
Great.
That made total sense. So thanks.
Yeah,
And
I try.
I'm glad you enjoyed the Rod Serling.
Serling, yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I like to try to make total sense. That's always
Yes,
much better than making half or 1/4 sense, which is true of so many people. So
You're writing green light for how to green light yourself. I mean, perfect.
I am. I don't.
Got it.
The book is all completed, and I got blurbs from Guillermo del Toro, Damon Lindelof, J.J. Abrams, on and on. Mark Fergus, Rockne O'Bannon, Doug Jones. It's really, really fun. So yeah. So well, thanks, Bonnie. Excellent. Yay, Bonnie Janowski, ladies and gentlemen. So is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question yet, Adam?
There is actually
Okay.
from Gregory Krug.
Great. Hi, Greg.
He wants to know if you have any thoughts on L. Ron Hubbard as a sci-fi writer.
Oh, dear.
Yes. No, dear. L. Ron Hubbard.
He's a sci-fi writer.
L. Ron Hubbard, before he came up with Dianetics and then Scientology, was one of the most prolific genre writers of his day. He didn't just write science fiction. He wrote horror. He wrote westerns. He wrote romance stories. He had a number of different pseudonyms. He, I believe he would get big rolls of paper and just write, and that way he wouldn't have to change pages. He could just keep going. The work of his I've read, I haven't really liked much. I've found it to be very of its time and generic. It hasn't stood out to me as the writing of Theodore Sturgeon or Ray Bradbury definitely did and does. That said, the famous story, Ted Sturgeon, who was one of my mentors and a friend, told me that story, that he was at the party where L. Ron Hubbard said, I have an idea for a science fiction novel. And someone said to him, if you write that as a novel, you'll get $1,000. If you put it into practice in the real world, you'll never have to work again. And that's exactly what he did. And so pretty remarkable. But anyway, so that's my experience of L. Ron Hubbard. Every now and then you find some of his old science fiction paperbacks, and they're not that insanely expensive. So that's something to kind of keep an eye out for. But it is interesting that he had those two extremely distinct sides of his life. So cool. So I guess, let me see. So Adam, you want to take your turn? You're next on my screen.
Yeah, I can go next.
Great.
Hey guys, I think everyone here knows me, Adam Sartain. Voice actor and producer, associate producer on Space Command. I gotta get the space out.
Yeah.
So I had it started out to be a very busy week, and then little things started falling off the wayside. So I was gonna have a guest on my podcast. He got sick and couldn't make it, so we're rescheduling that. I was gonna be on Let's Make a Deal, and then that fell through.
Oh, that's a shame. You would have been great.
Aww.
Yeah. But I did. That doesn't mean I haven't done any work. I did a Cherie, who was on last week. I did a voiceover for her pitch deck.
Great.
So it's a narrated pitch deck. So that was interesting.
Cool.
And then I have a gig next week doing a video for, it's called the Smile Squad. They do like social media videos, which is great because a friend of mine is like a part of it. So I get to work with him. So that'll be fun. And then coming up the week after next, which will be the first week of November, I'm going to be playing my first Santa gig of the season.
Oh,
Yay.
I'm going to be playing Santa at a Sam's Club in Santa Clarita.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool that I actually got called and asked about that gig.
Yes.
So that's really cool.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, and then the hayride continues. I'm if you like being scared and or like a good story, an interactive story, the hayride is really cool. It's much I would say, not having been a part of the other ones, but knowing what they're about, like Universal Halloween Horror Nights and Not Scary Farm even. They're all just different mazes with different themes, whereas this all has their different mazes, but they're all a part of one big story.
Wow, that's great.
So that's what I find interesting, and I actually get to be a character in this, so it's a lot of fun.
Cool, that's great. So anything else you wanted to add?
I think, I mean, like right now, we're in the midst of the big crunch for the end of the season, so I've been pretty busy with that and Space Command stuff. So
yay!
How's your back?
Until November 1st, I don't.
And Elaine was asking how your back is doing.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, I've been going to the chiropractor, and they said to continue going once a week. So I'm not going more often, which is good. And so I'm still having back pain, but it's not as bad, and it's not getting worse. So that's
good.
Well,
good.
Do they give you any stretches or anything like that?
No, not really. I was wondering about that, but yeah.
No exercises. Okay.
No.
Okay.
But I've been trying to, take it easy and stretch where I can.
Okay, because Mark was saved by back exercises. He had scoliosis, a bit of it, and so he went to a what kind of doctor was it?
I was a back doctor.
Back doctor, yes. Okay, but he gave him a series of exercises to do every night. It's very simple, very fast, and it went away completely forever.
Wow.
But
next time.
It's or Mark, off of this, Mark can tell you what he did. But these were stretches, and just maintaining them. Sometimes he'll skip a night, but he'll do them. But the pain was bad, where he couldn't sleep. He kept waking up with this back pain, and then it went away. But it was a back. I don't remember. It wasn't a chiropractor, but it was someone who specialized in physical therapy in the back. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great.
And that's it for me.
Yay, Adam! 3 cheers. So, is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next question is from Mark Lungo.
Hello, Mark.
And speaking of thoughts of writers, any thoughts on the writings of Robert Serling, Rod's brother?
Yes, Robert Serling. And by the way, this is my Rod Serling T-shirt from Binghamton, New York. Pretty cool. And this was a caricature of Rod done by Johnny Hart, who was the artist behind the BC comic strip, and he lived in Ithaca. So yes. So Robert Serling was Rod's older brother. They were very close as kids. Both of them were fascinated by aviation. Rod became a paratrooper, of course, and Bob became an aviation writer. And in the 60s, he had a hit novel called The President's Plane is Missing, sort of a thriller. And it was a big hit, and Rod was very proud of his brother. But Robert Serling, his only contribution to Twilight Zone was as a consultant on Odyssey of Flight 33, where a jet airliner goes back in time, a great episode. And Bob provided all the kind of technical information for that episode, which I talk about in the Twilight Zone Companion. I interviewed Bob Serling, who's a really nice guy. And, he, I think it was very hard to live in the shadow of his little brother's success, but I think he did it largely with grace. So that's it. So I guess, Thane, you're next on my screen. Hey,
Thane? Hello, Thane.
There you go.
Oh.
Hi there. I've been chasing around doing a variety of things lately, and this the last couple of weeks. I always have a bit of withdrawals afterwards, or something. So here I are.
Great.
I've had half a dozen auditions in recent time, and none of them have gelled, but some of them have been quite fun.
Great.
And my managers decided that the only professional actors to work with when it comes to doing auditions is they're all in New York, so I have to deal with the 3-hour difference in timing. So it's interesting. Everybody has their quirks.
Yes.
So, at any rate, some interesting projects, if they were to come through, it was interesting to audition for. And been doing some editing of various pieces of video I've got around here that I'm wanting to clean up and put in a proper file and move on. With pictures of last Thursday and Friday, I took my friend who has Alzheimer's to a wedding reception and Chinese tea ceremony to celebrate the wedding. The groom was Chinese, parents very traditional, Hong Kong Chinese, and so it was interesting to watch that, participate as an observer, I guess is the best way to say it. And experience a little different set of Chinese cultural values. And the interesting thing is, all of the meals served at the 2 events were Mexican. So, and there's a pretty big Chinese population throughout Central and South America, so I guess it's not. You can all, I swear, no matter where you go, you can find a Chinese restaurant. Very good, but and dovetailing into that is recent recognition of cities in California that literally loaded all of the Chinese residents on boats and shipped them off to San Francisco.
Wow.
Around 1985. 1990, a very sad period in California history and American history. I learned some things about that. Went to high school and college in Chico, which is north of Sacramento, where Adam spends a lot of his time. Up there we have a lot of rock walls, volcanic rock walls constructed by the Chinese. We used to joke that when we couldn't find a job, we could always get a job building walls, 10 cents a day, overnight, which I think now in retrospect is pretty pejorative, but it was some indication of the role that the Chinese laborers after building railroads and a lot of the highways in California, and were just left on their own without resources, and we treated them pretty nasty. Chinese is one of my languages.
Wow.
So it's.
Do you speak Cantonese or Mandarin?
I speak Mandarin,
Huh.
not fluently, but I get along. And
Great.
the family in Santa Barbara spoke Cantonese,
Mm.
and so we really couldn't mesh.
Hmm.
I have had the opportunity a couple times lately to be talking to someone in Chinese, and they said, "Oh, your Chinese is better than mine." I don't speak English, which is a standing joke with me that happened to me in Peace Corps. That's how I learned Chinese.
Huh. Wow.
Chinese, head of the Chinese farmers. So after a long conversation in Malaysian, which was the language we learned in training, said, "Well, you Yankee red dog, you come to me and you don't even speak my language. Why should I listen to you?" And so I went to the schoolmaster at the Chinese school and spent about 6 or 8 months learning Mandarin Chinese. Getting started, and then every afternoon I would work with some Chinese carpenters that were building a new school, and they taught me how to make my own set of tools.
Huh. Wow.
The first task is I need to, and so I went back to the head of the Chinese farmers. We talked for a little while in Chinese, and finally he said, "Well, you Yankee red dog, clearly I'm more intelligent than you. Why don't we just speak English?" It was a test. This is often a test one gets when you're working in other places.
Yes.
Was I willing to meet him somewhere along that? Couldn't meet him halfway, but could I meet him somewhere along the two? And after that, we got along well and had some nice accomplishments. So
that's great.
So, cross-cultural work is always complicated as we explore this world of film and television and so on. And I learned a lot of skills that have helped me out.
Well, great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay, Thane. Anything else you need? Anything else you need?
No, I just keep plugging along.
Great.
And know that one day that opportunity is going to be knocking on my door, and the question is, will I open it?
Okay.
Find the door.
Yes, exactly. Well, 3 cheers. Good to see you as always. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, our next question is a Scott Baker question.
Hi, Scott.
He says, "I just got out of the hospital yesterday.
Oh, dear.
For my 3rd bout with AFib. I see you walking rather vigorously at times in your videos. What is your total exercise regimen? I need one."
Sure. It's a little specific. I wrote years ago, I wrote a pilot for NBC that we shot in Thailand. And when I came back, I was ill with some mystery something. It was sort of like chronic fatigue syndrome, and no one could diagnose it. And my weight went down to 121 pounds, which is the lightest I've been in my adult life. And finally, what we found to help me bounce back was Elaine got me a physical trainer, and we started working out. And we've had the same trainer for over 30 years. So Elaine and I work out 3 hours at a time, 3 times a week with our trainer in the park and also at the gym. And so I'll run for 35 minutes, walk for another 15, lift weights, do abs, all that stuff. So it's a pretty thorough workout, and that seems to give me the energy I need at 142 to keep going. And so it's just the regimen I've had for many years, and it's good. We do it in the mornings because I could not stand to do it in the afternoons or evenings. My God. So we get up, and by 7 a.m. we're there, and off we go. So I was at the gym. I was actually in the park working out this morning, and it's great to have. The lovely part about any discipline is where it just becomes what you do, and you don't have to say, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? It's what you do. And it's just like you brush your teeth. It's just like when you go outside, most of us wear clothes, and so forth. So, and so I'm very grateful for it. And it's really kind of saved my life in many ways. So that's it. So Carol, I guess you're up next.
Well, Mark, you're consistently inspiring to all of us.
Thanks.
So keep that going. This is a small group tonight.
Yeah.
But small means cozy.
Yes.
things. I think when the pandemic's over, I might seriously turn back on the acting thing again. Just
Cool.
tell my agent to up it, or because like that's why I'm here.
Hmm.
You know,
Sure.
So I have a couple things to show you. I was going to a very old dance magazine.
Mm.
And I found my main teacher in it from LA, Gene Marinaccio.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. Did you know Gene? Did you know Gene?
Nope.
Fabulous. He was very unique. We'd start off on the floor, back feeling the floor, and then the whole bar would be parallel as opposed to turned out.
Yes.
And it was a power class. And he was a maverick, and he had a dance company, a big studio at one point. He was very, very successful.
Cool.
It's interesting what he said in this article.
Hmm.
He said, when I hired my dance company, I was never a when I look for someone in my dance company, I don't look for how fast, how swift, how high, how strong. I look for their spirit.
Good.
Guy commercially real successful, and when he said something, when I just read that he said something like that, I just found it really comforting.
That's great.
And, so I just read it the other day, and I offered it all back to you. I just found it looking for their spirit, looking for their sense of humanity.
That's great.
And I read for a pilot almost 20 years ago.
Huh.
I got it never went, but at the callback where I went in to see Justin, the director.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking, and I have a picture here's the picture from the pilot. Here's a production shot.
That's
Very
there it is.
Guess what I was
Great.
besides a waitress.
How fun.
I went in for the callback, and he was like this. He's looking at my picture, and he goes, "Oh God, are you great? Oh wow, you're perfect." I went, "Would you like me to read?" He went, "Oh yeah, look at this. Yeah, that's really great." I went, "Well, maybe I'm not the quality you want." "Oh no!" And I don't think he knew I was in the room.
Huh.
And he said, "Thursday, 2:00, just go to wardrobe." No, it was the weirdest thing. Maybe they said something nice about me. I have no idea.
That's
But
great.
It never worked out.
That's funny.
Was the Sisters of Rodney Street.
Wow.
And it was a cute part. It was kind of like Paper Chase. It was kind of like Paper.
Great.
But I mean, I wish we all could get cast like that.
That's great.
I love that picture. And you could have sent you in, Mark.
Yeah.
But,
well, when it falls into your lap, just accept it. It's great.
I'm almost saying, it's like almost too good to be true. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't do a lot of wonderful things.
Well, I think Carol, that I sold Greenlighting Yourself on a 2-word title. I taught a class called Greenlighting Yourself, and I checked on Amazon to see if it had been published as a book, assuming it must have been. And when I saw that no one had used that title, I emailed 2 editors I knew at 2 different publishing houses and said, would you be interested in a book called Greenlighting Yourself? And Silman James, who publishes the Twilight Zone Companion, said yes. So it was essentially a book sale on 2 words. So that was pretty great.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I can't top that. I really believe that. I had an interview with a guy yesterday. My friend was a manager, and she knew my work as an actress, but she turned me on to him as a writer. She said, "I want you to see her. I want you to look at her stuff." He was a great guy. I talked to him for about 45 minutes. And at the end of our conversation, he said to me, "Yeah, there might be some room for you. Call me back in, I thought he was going to say Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Call me back in February."
Great.
I thought, I sat there and I thought, what are you, nuts? I mean, should I tell him that I'm so sick of not accessing my thought bubble, but you kind of can't in this industry.
No.
Are you crazy?
No.
Oh, the lady who referred me to him.
Mm-hmm.
She knew his boss.
Right.
But he didn't know who she was. So I said, "Oh my God." So I'm going to surprise him and call him back in February.
Yes, I think that it's good. Patience and cheerfulness is always a good idea. There's a great New Yorker cartoon where it has an executive on the phone, and he's saying, "How about never? Is never good for you?" So that's So anything else? Anything you need?
No, I just thought I'd tell my friends that.
Great. Well, that's fun.
Well, that's all for now.
Yay! 3 cheers. Yes, Adam, were you going to say something?
Yeah, Carol, at least February is a lot closer than 2023.
Yes.
Which is when Let's Make a Deal told me to call back.
No.
Wow. Well,
they have this 3-year thing where you can't. Yeah.
Crazy.
You can't be on the show more than once within a 3-year span.
Yeah. Well, cool.
I thought mine was an exception because my part didn't air.
Right.
But
bastards.
But apparently not. So.
Yeah. Well, that's terrible. So,
23.
Good.
Yeah.
So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next question is from Bob Rich.
Great. Hi, Bob.
And he asks, who are authors in any medium who write their literature in a musical way with rhythm and symphonic structure in their prose and a gift for bringing out the sounds and melodies of words?
Sure. Theodore Sturgeon would do that as a trick when he wanted something to be a little more mystical. You know, he would employ a very specific musical rhythm to that section. He didn't do it all the time, but he did it sometimes. Obviously Shakespeare, of course, with iambic pentameter, which he wrote in, and you know, if you go back to the Odyssey and the Iliad, those were, you know, poems, and they were actually sung, and so they're really much more like you know, Jesus Christ Superstar or something. They were really it's very interesting because it's enormously easier to memorize poems if they're set to music. You know, we all of us know hundreds, if not thousands, of songs, but know very few poems that we can recite by memory. And so the Odyssey and the Iliad were sung when they were performed back in ancient times, and you know, that's and you sort of see it's a different part of the mind. There's also a terrific video on YouTube where it's Lady Gaga. She recently released a second album with Tony Bennett, who has Alzheimer's, and it's a video thing. I think it was for 60 minutes, where he couldn't quite recognize her just talking to her, but when they performed 2 concerts in December, because his mind is more engaged when he's on stage, he knows all the song lyrics. He recognized her. He was able to work, you know, with the orchestra, and it's because the part of his mind that is utilized just for his private life, there's a much smaller part of his mind, and it's fascinating to watch. It's fascinating to watch, and you know, so it's really, really interesting. So cool. So let's see. So Dave Edison, I guess you're next on my screen.
Oh, hi. How's everybody?
Good.
Is this sounding okay?
Yeah, you sound great. You sound very natural.
Excellent. Oh,
very
well,
lifelike.
yes, very lifelike. Anyway, hi everyone. Let me make a mention about Mike Lopez Memorial. I wasn't able to get the live streaming to work, but I checked back and it's archived, so it's on YouTube. I'll post the link in the chat here.
Great.
Also, you mentioned Rod Serling's caricature on your shirt.
Yes.
Our one of our table members, Samantha Gilbert, is she's a production designer, an amazing caricature artist. And if you go to her site, goforsam.com, her caricature of Rod Serling is among the ones on her landing page.
Oh, cool.
So you might want to check that out.
Sure.
And Bonnie, I talked to Tamir, the director of Michael Lopez's film, You'll Be Okay, which Bonnie did the music for. I was the editor on. Other table members were involved in as well. Tamir is a table member, and Mike, of course, was a table member.
Yes.
And so he gave me the go-ahead to post the link to the video. I'll post it here in chat. I know there's only a handful of us today, but if there's more next week, I will post it again next week. So on to what's up with me. Well, I'm the editor of this Space Command project that you may have heard about.
Yes.
And we are moving towards completion of episodes 1 and 2.
Yes.
Joined together as a 2-hour feature for the end of the year. And we're getting new VFX shots, and I'm sending out stuff for episodes 3 and 4.
Great.
And working on other projects at the moment. A pitch video that Mark just recorded. I'm adding graphics to it, and hopefully within a day or so, between other things, we'll have that done. But mainly it's Space Command, and you can you Mr. Sci-Fi fans can watch Mark's daily Twilight Zone minutes.
Yes.
That I've been there's not a lot of editing to them generally. I just I've created a template so that I can knock them out pretty fast.
Great.
In the middle of everything else. So so keep an eye on those. They're pretty interesting. He just posted one for Nightmare 20,000 Feet.
Yeah.
Which is shot of all places what did you call it? An airliner?
Yes, yes,
You were on an airliner.
yes, yes,
So,
yes.
So anyway, so those are fun. Other than that, hope you're doing well. I am still vertical. I hope
Good.
you remain that way.
Good.
And you stay well. And there's probably other things that I'm forgetting to mention, but if it's really important, I will chime back in.
Great. Yay, 3 shares. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Our next question is from another one from Gregory Krug.
Okay.
And he asks, did anything at Binghamton surprise you?
Well, I was very gratified that Rod's boyhood home was still there and looking much like it did when he was a kid. It's painted white. It's really pristine. Seeing the carousel, the merry-go-round that inspired Walking Distance was wonderful, and the park that inspired the park in that episode. It was there were just a lot. I mean, there were a lot of things that were really wonderful to see. There was the stage that Rod Serling performed on in high school. He was in high school plays, and in the backstage he had painted his name over as part of a doorway lintel back in 1943 before he graduated, and they had salvaged that piece of wood. There had been a fire, but that piece hadn't been touched, and someone called one of the administrators of the high school, and said, should we throw this out? And he said, no, and he kept it, and that was really, really wonderful to see. I took a photo of it. Another great surprise was that Jody Serling had the masks that were made by William Tuttle for the terrific Twilight Zone episode, The Masks. I didn't know those were still in existence. It's extremely rare to find anything from Twilight Zone. In fact, the spacesuit behind me, the one with the gloves, is from Death Ship, and to find that was quite a coup. And but so it was a wonderful trip. I'd been to Ithaca, and of course I'd been to Rod's house in Pacific Palisades when I started writing the Twilight Zone Companion. But it was really quite something to see his hometown, which I'd never seen before. I was very glad to get to go there and really enjoyed it. I also had a wonderful lunch with Rod's daughter Jody, and a wonderful dinner with his other daughter Anne. So it was really a good trip. So so that's that. And so beyond that, I guess Galinda, you're next. I'll be right back. There, go for
Hi,
it.
Galinda.
Hello, wonderful people. You're doing great to be here this evening. Great to see everybody. I don't have anything new or exciting. Just sitting here in Texas, trying to not go too brain dead from talking to my customers all day. And have something interesting to ask about.
Yes.
I have a curiosity. I'm a big fan of Easter eggs. I think I've talked about that before. So if you make any kind of pop culture reference that I recognize, I get very excited. And we had watched History of the World Part 1, Mel Brooks, recently. My roommates and I did back during Snowpocalypse. And I'm watching that and going, in the middle of the Inquisition thing, over the very end of it, I'm going, wait, I think that's Michael Palin from Monty Python. And I cannot find a single reference to him doing a cameo in that scene. But because the Inquisition, nobody expects thing, if it's true, that's the funniest Easter egg I've ever seen. But I'm not sure who I would ask.
Which
Which was the okay, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, what's the question? Is it
in the History of Mel Brooks' History of World Part 1, in the Inquisition scene?
Yes.
There is a guy that comes out of the Iron Maiden that looks a whole lot like Michael Palin from Monty Python.
Huh. I don't know.
And-
I'll have to check it. I'll do a little digging on that, and I'll find out.
Yeah, I haven't found a reference. I haven't found anybody admitting, or even, they don't even list who he is in the cast, and there's no listing for him. And it's like, if that's really him, that's one of the funniest Easter eggs I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's probably not, but we can look into it. It's Mel Brooks and Monty Python were in very different universes, and so I don't think there's a lot of cross fertilization, but I'll look into it. It's an interesting question.
It's possible that it's just someone who looked that much like him, and he was wearing kind of the Monty Python scruffy beard thing that you often saw the characters from Monty Python in.
Yes.
And so it's just like after noticing the MASH reference I saw the other day was clean your hands Father Mulcahy the phone and says, Father, I have the chaplain on the line. And Mulcahy takes the phone and says, hello, Charlie.
The God.
And I just died. I thought that was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It's like I had to explain it to my cousin. I'm like, no, Donna, I know you know this. You're my age. But
that's funny.
But, that's the kind of thing I really get a kick out of that. I think that's, and you include that kind of thing in television and movies and stuff, it helps bring people closer into you.
Yes, it's fun. It's a lot of fun to have those kind of references. And I put a lot of that kind of stuff in Space Command, references, callbacks to all sorts of science fiction books and TV shows and movies. So it's really fun. So anything else? Anything else for now?
Nothing right now. Just to say I'm in my own hole while my roommates are moving out and I'm getting prepared to move out of here. And, so I kind of put all my creative projects in wait. But hope to be back up and running on that soon and have something to show off there very soon.
Great. That'll be great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So, Adam.
I just took a look at that on YouTube. It looks like it could be Palin. There's no, but it's a very short moment when he gets closed into the Iron Maiden.
You see, I think that it's like it's very, very quick, but it really, those eyes are pretty distinct.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure someone would have commented about it on the internet somewhere. So if you want to type in Google Michael Palin, Mel Brooks, it'll probably come up if it was the case.
And apparently Brooks has signed to executive produce and write. He's up there, but maybe he will. Another a 6-episode series, History of the World Part 2 for Hulu.
Wow, so, how fun! That's great.
See if it happens.
Well, we shall see. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
And by the way, it took me a while, but I did get the chaplain thing.
Good.
It took a little bit, but I got there.
There you go.
So
excellent.
Our next question, our next question is from Scott Gamble.
Hi, Scott.
Who wants to know what's the latest with Space Command?
Whew. Well, we are roaring along to finish the first 2 hours and ship out the Blu-rays and DVDs by Christmas.
Hey, Bart, let's stop eating. Get back to work.
Stop eating. Get back to work. Yes, get back to your oar in the galley.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Boom, boom. Exactly. Yes. So we're doing that. We have various VFX artists working on the 3rd hour to get that completed. We've started shooting the 4th hour. That's not including, of course, the 2-hour bonus episode. We're moving along on the animatic. We're about to print up the 2nd issue of the Space Command comic book, and we've got the 3rd issue almost completed as well. So it's roaring along. We're having lunch with an executive with Netflix tomorrow, and we'll be discussing all of this stuff. And so it's pretty cool. It's very cool, and Space Command just keeps moving along. I got a very interesting call that I might be acquiring something very, very interesting very soon. Can't quite talk about it quite yet, but it's very interesting and would be very amazing. So that's about it for that. So David Bartlett, you're next on my screen. Nope, you're not. That's interesting. Do you want me to come back to you? Okay. Michelle Hart, you're up. Go for it. Oh, you're not unmuted yet. We're not hearing you.
I have very little news. I was supposed to hear from somebody who was kind enough to recommend me to a theatrical agent.
Great.
And maybe. I sent over all the appropriate materials, and I spoke to him very briefly, and he said, my assistant will make an appointment with you next week. And this was next week, which is nearly gone. So I don't know whether that was a thank you, thanks for sending later or not. We'll see.
Okay.
So there's that. The good news is that I think I finally got somebody that wants to rent my room in my apartment.
Great. Good. Phew.
Yeah. So,
good.
It'll enable me to do fun things like paying the rent.
Good.
And not only that, he said he travels a lot, so he isn't going to be around very much. So
cool.
That's even better. What I want is somebody who'll pay the rent and not be there.
Yes, yes.
Isn't that dreamy?
Yeah, it's excellent. hang your hat and go away. So other than that, I've gotten a number of inquiries, from Central Casting. Are you available? Boy,
Cool.
howdy, am I ever available?
Great.
None of which has turned into work yet. And I'm wondering whether the IATSE contracts will be ratified or not. I would love it to be ratified because we're all needing to be working.
Yes.
I don't think they've gotten what they need to get. So
No.
who knows?
Well, that turnaround time is dangerous,
Yeah,
that
well,
not-
yeah.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Yes. So anything else you need?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, well, welcome. Yeah.
Cool. 3 cheers. Good to see you as always. Great. Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
You got it. Our next question is from Juan Soros.
Hi, Ron.
Or Soros. He says, where do you stand on space battles? Do you think the author should plan them out, or are they just a placeholder to hang emotional beats and insults of the French?
I think you have to plan them out very thoroughly and coordinate with your art department and with your your team. I mean, basically, storyboard them and all that stuff. We're going to be getting into that big time with Great Solar War, which is going to be the one we're doing after Forgiveness on Space Command.
Without clarity, how do you have your audience invest?
Yes.
And we've all seen like fights where we don't know what's going on and
Right.
there's no way to invest or.
The main thing with space battles is you always have to decide how close to scientific accuracy you want to be. It's very interesting. A lot of people didn't notice in JJ's Star Trek movie, they actually had it go from sound to silent as people got sucked out into space and the camera followed them out. And that was pretty cool. But in Space Command, we have sound in outer space just because it's just, dramatic and what the hell, this ain't real. But, and we pay lip service to, the science of fusion drive and then faster than light drive and artificial gravity and smart suits and all this stuff. But, it's always fun to come up with something new that you haven't done before. We're going to have in Great Solar War, we've got this very cool weapons station that Jack's son is going to be. He's a weapons officer on one of the ships, and this thing comes up over him. And then when they're going into battle, to secure him and have him in an enclosed breathing environment, but then it can also, part of it can detach and be a freestanding spacesuit. So it's a very cool device that we'll be having in that episode. So can't wait to show you that. So let's see. So now, David Bartlett, are you ready to talk to people now? Sure.
I am David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a human rights activist, and a teacher, and a producer of Space Command.
Yay!
As was just said, the updates on Space Command include a bunch of stuff I was going to say, so I won't repeat it. But this DVD Blu-ray release that has been going on for a very dramatic amount of time is now looking like it actually will happen, and we'll have a digital download also.
Yay!
Right, Christmas Day, and announcements of releases around there too. We're going to start shipping the DVD extras.
Great.
And the box lids of both box sets, 3 box sets technically.
Wow, cool.
In the next week probably.
Great.
Or the next few weeks, 2 weeks. And then we are doing music and sound design right now, overlapping, finishing up the visual effects. We've got reels locked down to, I think there are 2 sequences that aren't locked. Locked means the directors won't be making any more changes.
Huh, well, how interesting.
Locked means, yes.
I guess.
Scenes left that aren't locked. I'm very happy about that. So once that's done, and all the scenes can go to music and sound, and then get a mix done and a color correction and all those things that you do at the end of the process, we're in them right now. So that's a very good thing.
Cool.
So by myself, I was born in Seattle, Washington, and I grew up in Beaverton, Oregon, which at the time was near a company called Tektronix, where we all learned how to drive in the snow because they have a massive parking lot. It's like the place where they make the equipment to test the testing equipment, like oscilloscopes. But now it's also the home of Nike World Headquarters and Intel. So it's a kind of a not that unknown place anymore. So in fact, the Nike World Headquarters is about 3 blocks away from where I grew up. So did high school. I made my first film when I was 10. Did things in high school, film, and a lot of drama, dancing, singing, and acting. Yes, I was dancing, singing, and acting. I once carried a 250 bar dancing solo with the entire cast of The Music Man. So if you know what that is, watch the movie. Buddy Hackett, that was my part. Always the hero's best friend. Hero's best friend gets killed at the end of the second act, but if it's a comedy, he's not really dead and he comes back again.
Well, there you go.
So that's in a nutshell, he will die for the hero and never think twice about it and love every second of the martyrdom. So that's me.
Okay.
So then I got out of school and I did a little brief in college, did some work in movie theaters, moved to LA in 1980 and started working on some very big films as an apprentice for a while. And I worked with James Cameron when he's a production designer at New World Pictures with Roger Corman. And I worked at a sound design company that did Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall and Predator 2 and Tremors and a lot of other cool films. And then I started getting out of that into my own films and working on other people with their own independent films. Now I have 65 film festival awards.
Yay.
We're in the spectrum on both ends.
Great.
I always tell a new story every week if I can. I have a new story. I went around the world with the human rights activist friend that was international in her scope with teaching children human rights. She feels that the Human Rights Foundation of this planet is where it's at for the future, and the adults don't get it because they're too old and they don't listen anymore, but the kids can. So I went supporting her, and I was in Africa, and I was in a little orphanage with the ambassador of Liberia, and it was me. I was in the black cargo pants and the photojournalist black vest and 2 cameras and a badge and everything. I was the whitest guy for 1,000 miles everywhere I went. And he says, so this is David Bartlett, and he's traveled all the way from Hollywood, and he's here to help Mary. He's been around the world with her many times, and 2 times, this is a record. What do we say? And all these kids turned to me and they said, welcome home, David, because it's Africa, and Africa is where the human race started. And I was very moved by that, and I'm filming them at the same time. He says, they have a song for you to sing. Would you like to hear it? I'm like, obviously, yeah, of course. So this little girl gets up. She's about 16. She clenches her fist. She gets real serious, and she concentrates down 60,000 years of the Zulu on her time track back into the nether reaches of the human race, and she makes this sound. She says, hi-ya! And all the kids go, hi-ya! And this is some kind of chant like out of the Lion King or something. It's like the hair is going up on my head. It's going up right now just remembering the story. And she starts doing this chant back and forth with these kids, singing directly to me. And this kind of, changed my life. And there are 2 other stories that go with it I won't tell right now because one of them is gruesome.
No, don't tell that one.
We're not telling that one.
No.
But the 3 stories combined really made me want to continue to make films. So I took the footage I shot on those world tours. I made them into a little film, and now it has 7 awards. And it's on YouTube if you'd like to check it out. It's called Change Orphans in the Storm. So I've done other animal rights films. I've done other human rights films, and I have a bunch of them on YouTube, probably 7 or 8 of them right now that you can check out. I just found out that my YouTube channel was kind of unceremoniously dismantled. So a couple of the links I had went away, and my other films and videos were scattered to the wind. So I have to build a new one. So once I do that, you'll be able to go to one channel and see all the clips. But in the meantime, you can just Google search that.
Okay.
So, the second thing is Space Command.
Yay.
You ever wondered, gee, how could I help out with Space Command? How could I get a job on Space Command? What could I do with my skills? I'm the person to ask.
Yay.
We need help right now. We need help with some carpentry. We need help with shipping some things. Adam's been working with us with shipping some things. There's a lot more of that to do. Mark's been doing some new videos to finish off our list of perks that we have to create, which is great. And each video that he creates is one step closer to being finished, which is awesome. And some of them require some labor behind them after he does his part, which is the video on camera part. Then we put images on top of it. We've got all the images chosen and scanned in order. So there's some of that has to be done. And so if you like the idea of driving cars around to pick things up, or working as a carpenter or a set builder or someone who paints, or other things in the studio itself. And also we have the, I got distracted by something Mark just bought recently, which is this Thunderbird kind of shaped dashboard looking science fiction spaceship controller with the dashboard. And we have that too, that we can, there's all these things that we can work on that are in process. We'll buy some things from another show and we will make it into Space Command things.
Mhm.
And we're doing that now too, because in the spring we're going to be shooting all the framing story scenes, which is the scenes at the beginning and the ending of an episode that kind of frame it.
Yes.
That's the name. We have a bunch of those we're going to shoot, and we have 50 pages of the episode 3 and 4 left to shoot as well. And we're doing all that too. So all the prep has to be done before we shoot. Who knew, right? Well, that's where I come in, and that's where you come in, because we're doing that now. Anyway, so that's kind of the Space Command bit for me.
Cool.
And the third bit is the table email. I'm doing the table email now. If you are looking to have a table email, or if you're having trouble with your table email, you can contact me. This is the limited offer open to the Mr. Sci-Fi folks. You can join the table and have a table email right now. There's no fees. There's no special security or anything like that. What you do is you get an email together that has your first and last name in it, full first and full last, no nicknames, no cute things or whatever. It can have numbers, but definitely those two things. And then it can't be Yahoo. So it could be Gmail, it could be whatever, but not Yahoo. So if you get that together, send it to me. I will get it set up. And in, a short amount of time. There have been times when I said that at the table meeting and they had their email back before the meeting was over. So it's not a complicated thing. It's fast. If you have troubles with your email, again, I can help with that. So I'm going to put my email in the chat here. But for those who are on Mr. Sci-Fi, it's davefilms, DAVEFILMS @hotmail.com.
Cool.
And that's it for me.
Yay, yay, 3 cheers. Okay, so Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Let me just, I'm going to put that in the chat in the Mr. Sci-Fi.
Great.
So people will.
Terrific.
Okay, so our next question is from, where is it? Dave Rash.
Hi, Dave.
And he wants to know, what were some of your favorite Outer Limits episodes?
It's one of the 3 shows that made me want to be a writer. The other 2, of course, being Twilight Zone and the original Star Trek. I love a lot of the episodes of Outer Limits. There's the great one with the tumbleweeds, with Eddie Albert, who's a wonderful dramatic actor as well as a comic actor. Obviously, Soldier and Demon with a Glass Hand, both by Harlan Ellison. There's The Sixth Finger with David McCallum, great episode. There's The Inheritors. There's on and on. I love the one with Don Gordon as a spaceship pilot at an amusement park. Great episode. There's on and on. I mean, just the Zanti Misfits is wonderful. There's a few dog episodes too, but there's many that are just so marvelous. And there's the one where Robert Duvall impersonates an alien to be a covert agent, and that's a great episode. Any ones that you want to mention, Elaine? She's a fan of the show as well. The ones with Martin Landau are great. The man who was never born. That's terrific. The actors are wonderful. The writing, it's a phenomenal show. I worked with Joe Stefano later, and he was, a remarkable writer. He wrote the script for Psycho, just really phenomenal. And the
one with Shatner where he and his wife are stranded and they go into the diner and get fortune telling.
That's a Twilight Zone episode. Yeah.
Yeah. What are we time? Sorry.
The Outer Limits. Outer catch. Yeah.
Limits. Oh.
Yeah. Keep up. Yeah.
That thing, the monster that lives under the swamp, which he called the Gill Man, right? In the Outer Limits episode, it's the creature from the Black Lagoon is in that. Is he in the Outer Limits episode? I'm pretty sure.
No, I don't think so. What are we talking about? No. Shatner did an episode.
Drugs, I'm sorry.
That's right. Shatner did an episode of Outer Limits called Cold Hands, Warm Heart. And it was about, he plays an astronaut who goes to Venus, and then he comes back and he starts sort of turning into a Venusian. And it was a good episode. And but there's many good episodes and great actors.
I like, I don't remember the name of the episode, but I like the one with the guy that does the nanites to cure his cancer, but then it keeps going, and it he grows gills and all this, and he can't die essentially because the nanites keep him alive.
That's interesting. Now, are you thinking of the later version of Outer Limits, Adam?
It might have been a
That's
later one.
that. The way you know is if it's in color, it's the later version. If it's in black and white, it's the original. And
It was in color, so
yeah, and then
Yeah.
there's also a great episode with David McCallum as someone who comes back from the past. He died in the past and he's back alive again, and he's terrific in it. It was actually done as a spin-off pilot, and they filmed 2 endings, one where his time traveling was real and the other where he was just insane and it wasn't real. And the one that aired as an Outer Limits episode was the one where time travel was real, and because the spin-off series never sold, but it was just great. And
did anyone mention the Xanthi Misfits?
yeah, I did. And well, the Outer Limits had a weird, dark spirit, and it was darker in certain ways than Twilight Zone, but no less wonderful. And the creatures were terrific, and it was one of a kind. I love that show. It's not as well known as Twilight Zone, but it's certainly worth watching. So there you go. So let's see. So I guess now it's now there's one person who's on the thing, but I don't see a name or a face. So
That's Dave's. That's for his,
that's Dave.
That's
So-
me. I'm on the computer to see everybody, and on
Yeah.
the phone for better sound.
So you're
By the way, since I'm on again,
Yes.
I did forget to mention that film that I edited a couple of years back, actually a very short film, a music video, in fact, is being featured in the New York 6th Annual Dog Film Festival.
Huh.
Oh,
And
wow.
Speaking of things being a dog,
That's great.
and so a nice little music video if you happen to be at the festival, and I think it's also online across the country.
Cool. That's cool. Well, thank
Anyway,
you, Dave.
It's called Time to Say Goodbye.
Oh.
Okay, great.
And with
Terrific.
that, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, bye-bye.
So now it's Elaine's turn. Wonderful Elaine. It's Elaine, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only.
First, I'd like to apologize for often disappearing in the middle of this event.
She finds most of you insufferable.
Yes, it's about having very persistent terriers.
Yes, terriers, dogs.
And Suddenly, I get a Rudy head right here,
Wanting to go for a walk.
wanting to go for a walk.
Yeah.
So I have to
Yeah.
like peel off and give him a walk.
Yes.
So
At least that's his opinion.
that's his opinion.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, moving along on several different fronts. Again, there's Space Command, and again, it's getting closer and closer thanks to my team. A team in terms of making. That's great about film, where you can actually fix things
Yes.
later.
Because we reshot a sequence and it
reshot a
really
sequence.
improves it.
So we
Yeah.
had a group, and everybody was working very hard, and now the music is almost
Mhm.
done for it.
Yes. Yes.
And it's a small thing, but a kind of a big thing in terms of just an emotional turn. And it was funny. So we were asked about space battles, and outside of the fact that just in terms of tech, I'm glad we know some military guys, because it's always nice to research those things, because
Yes.
things that you would never think of, they've thought of.
Yes.
That make things a lot more exciting. But the main thing, and part of the scene that was reshot, was the consequences.
Mm.
And one thing that's very important for Space Command is that with things like they're brutal, truly brutal, and in the end mindless, like war, you
should have real life
should have real
consequences.
life consequences, and not oh boy, what fun!
But
go join the
right.
Marines, Mr. 17-year-old boy.
But those of you who know Beta, who was part of our Space Command team, she's on camera playing the role of a mother trying to escape an attack by combat synthetics, and it's great.
She did a wonderful job.
Yeah, I can't wait to have it color corrected and have all the sound design put in. David Rakeland turned in the music for the new version, if you don't know. And Dave, you'll need to be dropping that in, of course. And onward and upward. What else?
With that Ashes. I have a team again. Thank you. It's
Both here and in England.
Here and in England, reaching out for the grant.
The $500,000 grant.
That's part of it. We're searching for someone who would be able to match it, and it will be kind of a rip-roaring, good, fun thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, David Bartlett, who has encouraged me from the get-go, that it's rip-roaring for all of the
science fiction movie.
Yeah, science fiction movie, for all of the character stuff, of which there is a great deal.
Yeah.
And so just keeping busy.
And Sunday we're going to have a company too.
Mm.
Yay.
Yes. Yes. There you go. So go ahead.
So just having, just plugging away on multiple projects. many multiple. Thank you, Mark.
Mhm.
And I guess that's unless you know somebody who is a rich producer who you might grab for yourself, you greedy people, that you'd like to give away. I am open for all of that. Okay, well, I guess that's it for me.
Yay, 3 Cheers Lane. Good job. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have another Juan Suros question.
Great.
He asks, has anyone ever done Heinlein well on screen?
Well, I really like Starship Troopers a lot. I mean, it's taking Heinlein to its logical extreme of fascism, because Paul Verhoeven grew up during World War II and experienced Nazis firsthand, and I think somehow he saw that tendency toward that in not Nazism certainly, but certainly toward fascism in Heinlein's work. Ginny Heinlein, the widow of Robert Heinlein, hated that movie, and I can absolutely see why. And many science fiction fans who are fans of Heinlein hated that movie, but I really like it a lot. And as well as appreciating Heinlein. I love the Heinlein Juveniles, Have Spacesuit Will Travel. They've tried to make a number of his books into films over the years. He only wrote 2 movies. One was Destination Moon, which is a pretty fun film if you've never seen it, 1950, George Pal. But also he wrote Project Moonbase, which was a pilot, and it's really kind of goofy. I think he was rewritten by lesser talents, but if you want to just enjoy something really fun in 1950s and sexist, it's a lot of fun to check out. You can probably even find it on YouTube. And but they've tried for many years to do a film of Have Spacesuit Will Travel, which I think would be a terrific movie. No one's ever managed to pull it off, but it's one of my favorite Heinlein books. And so that's the answer to that one. So now I guess it's Me, Wonderful Me.
Oh, before you start, I almost forgot.
Nope, Elaine's stepping on my cue.
We are going to be looking, we keep talking about getting closer to
in-person table meetings at Patty's.
And so we will be searching out a tech person so that we don't lose.
So we can do some of these on-screen ones as well as like real human beings.
For people who can't join us. And so having a tech person to help design that we're just starting to advertise for a tech person from the table who at the table can help us incorporate the people who otherwise would not be seen. So that's it.
Yes. Okay, good.
That's what I forgot.
Anything else you want to add?
That's all
before I actually take my turn?
Oh, Jesus.
So now it's Me, Wonderful Me. So as was mentioned earlier, I was the guest of honor at the Rod Serling Fest in Binghamton, New York. Had a great time. Wonderful, reconnecting with Jody and Anne Serling. And we're moving forward on Rod Serling's After Twilight. Hopefully we can make that come to fruition. It's part of the Showrunners Network. Beyond that, Space Command's moving along. The Greenlighting Yourself book is completed, thank God. Also, we're working on Sweet Haven. We're working on Dante Station and Magic Time. Tomorrow we have lunch with Joey Brown, who had been a friend of ours, who's an executive at Amazon. Now he's an executive at Netflix. So hopefully that's going to lead ultimately to them picking up one of these shows. I hope so, one or more. But I also caught up with Nick Parisi and Tony Abarella, who have done various books related to Twilight Zone and Serling and so forth. And so I'm really gaining a lot of access and knowledge to the materials I'll need to do Rod Serling's After Twilight, including I found out that the scripts he wrote many scripts for Night Gallery that were not made, and those have reverted back to the Serling family. So that's very good news, because Twilight Zone pilot scripts that I would very much like to shoot are still in the grasp of CBS, unfortunately. 2 unmade hour pilots that Rod wrote that were never made. But so that's moving along well, I think. And beyond that, we're just continuing to work on all the different versions of Space Command. What else? I'm forgetting a ton of stuff, but it's just we're juggling a lot of balls at the moment. But it's good. I mean, it's fun. Oh, by the way, they're having a couple of auctions coming up that are going to be terrific, and one of them is going to auction off this rifle. If you're a Trekkie, you definitely would recognize it. This is the phaser rifle that was used only once on Star Trek in the second pilot, Where No Man Has Gone Before. They're auctioning it off, and I am certainly not going to be buying it because I'm sure it will go for much more money than I have at hand to spend. But everything's moving along great. And no complaints. Just if you want to buy Space Command shares, or if you want to, as David said, help Space Command by lending a hand, that's always much appreciated. Let me think if there's anything I want to add. I mean, it's just really cool to be part of the world of science fiction. I mean, Carol Serling was always amazed that Twilight Zone kept going and remained popular. Rod would have been very, very amazed and gratified. He did not know it would last when he died in 1975 at age 50, very sadly. But it was really fun to go to Jody Serling's house and see all the photos of Rod that I'd never seen, and those masks from that great episode, The Masks, that Rod wrote, and meet her dogs and all that stuff, and her husband, whom I'd met once before. I interviewed Anne and Jody Serling in 1977. It was only 2 years after Rod's death, and I interviewed them at the family house in Pacific Palisades, which is the building is still there, but they of course no longer live there, and so that was a singular honor. So I've known them for better part of 40 years, and it's just very cool to be welcomed into that world and that family, and I'm very grateful that the Twilight Zone Companion succeeded and is still in print after all these years. It was very fun at the Serling Symposium to see people bringing up all these different copies of the Twilight Zone Companion for the first edition to the third, the most recent one. And Nick Parisi, who wrote a book on Serling before and after Twilight Zone, he had the single most dog-eared copy of that book I've ever seen in my life. It was literally disintegrating while he was having me sign it, held together by tape, and I just kind of wow. But I'm honored by that. By the way, there was only one hardcover edition of the Twilight Zone Companion that the Science Fiction Book Club put out in 1982, and that goes for several $1,000s on eBay now. And I've got a couple copies, not many, but that's a real collector's item. And so that's sort of the main stuff.
Greenlighting's delayed because.
What? Oh, no, it's just Greenlighting Yourself is going to come out in 2022, and they're having some delays in terms of their printer and paper supplies and so forth, but it's going to come out, and I think it's going to do really well. And I'm very happy that I wrote it and that it's completed. And that's sort of the main stuff with me, I think. So definitely check out Mr. Sci-Fi if you haven't. Dune is now out. And so I did an hour-long presentation on the development history of Dune. So go to Mr. Sci-Fi and check that out if you haven't watched it. It's really interesting. And beyond that, thanks for being here, both Table and Mr. Sci-Fi friends. And it's wonderful to be part of such a supportive and wonderful community. So thanks so much, and we will talk again real soon. Bye, guys. Yay. 3 cheers. Take care.
Bye.
We'll see you again soon.
Guys.
Bye.
Great week.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks. And bye, my sci-fi friends. Talk soon. Wow. Sure.